Okay, suppose we have a quadratic equation x squared plus 2x plus 4 is equal to 0. We are going to find out the value for x to the third power. You know the deal. Please pause the video and try this first. Done? Cool. Alright, let me just tell you guys that there are two ways to do it. The first way is we can look at this quadratic equation and then maybe use the quadratic formula for completing a square and solve it and just try to find out what x to the third power is after that, right? But that will take really long. Let me just demonstrate. So if we have x squared plus 2x plus 4 is equal to 0, let's do the completing square. Because the coefficient right here is an even number too, and we have a 1 right there already, okay? Anyway, let's move the 4 to the other side. Here we will have x squared plus 2x, and that's equal to negative 4. And then take half of the coefficient, well, 2 divided by 2 is just 1, and then square that, still 1, adding on both sides. That's the magic number like this. Because this way, the left-hand side becomes a perfect square, namely x plus 1 squared, and that's equal to the right-hand side, which is negative 3. Then, of course, we can just take the square roots on both sides. And don't forget the plus or minus. And then we can say that x is equal to, move the 1 to the other side, negative 1 plus or minus square root of negative 3. Cool, but this is not the question. The question is asking us for x to the third power. So, x to the third power will be, okay, we have negative 1 plus or minus square root of negative 3 to the third power. Alright, take that and then multiply that 3 times. Not so bad, huh? You can go ahead and try it, but I'm just going to put down dot dot dot. I'm not going to continue. Alright? Because for this kind of question, sometimes if you know how to get a marker that actually works, for this kind of question, if you know how to work with the equation, you can actually solve it in a much faster way. You can actually solve this question in 10 seconds. Alright? So, we know the given equation is x squared plus 2x plus 4 is equal to 0. You see, we want to have x to the third power, right? From here, let's multiply everybody by x. Why not? Because that way we can produce x to the third power. So we are going to get x to the third power plus, this right here is 2x squared, and then plus 4x, and then 0 times x is still equal to 0. We want x to the third power, let's keep it here. Let's move these two things to the other side, and in the meantime, we can factor out a 2. Yeah? Okay. So let's go ahead and just minus 2 like this, and then we'll just have x squared, and then what? Plus 2x. Right? Yeah. Does this look familiar? It does. Why? Because from here, x squared plus 2x plus 4 is equal to 0. We can put the 4 to the other side. This tells us x squared plus 2x equals negative 4. So we have x to the third power. Right? Look at this. That's negative 2 times negative 4. What's the answer? 8. Done. X to the third power is equal to 8. In fact, it looks like we may end up with like two different answers, huh? Because we have the minus 1 plus, right? And also the minus here, so it looks like we have two different answers. But no, crazy enough, we actually just end up with one answer. Maybe two answers. You guys can go ahead and try it and let me know. Alright? So go ahead and check out my other videos if you want to see more questions like this.